to do. Now, this is the screen of Nvivo. And what is more important than Nvivo is understanding how to use it. Okay. Slowly and gradually, when I come to the end of the session, you will see that this is just a software. If you don't have the logical reasoning of a researcher, this software is of no use. And if you have a logical reasoning of the researcher, even without the software, you can make a qualitative paper good. Okay, so first thing first, qualitative research is only text, narrative, words, feelings, attitudes, hidden beliefs, etc. Okay, it is a very deep research, unlike quantitative research where we say yes, no, 5, 6, rate from strongly agree to strongly. Unlike that, this is very, very deep. It is very, very subjective. So when I finally make themes and say, okay, in this problem, these are the major themes, I have one perception. When I send this paper to the journal, the reviewer has another perception. He says, no, Jaspreet, this theme should not be named this, it should be named something else. These problems come in qualitative paper, but they don't come in quantitative paper. I think for the past 3 years that I've been publishing quantitative papers, I've been more successful. Reason being, when I tell the reviewer that Sir Cronbach is 0.7, reliability Cronbach is 0.7, more than 0.6. So, sir, it is okay. He also knows it's more than 0.6, so there is no debate. But in the theme, when I finally say that, sir, I have found out a new theme among Indians, which is donation. He says, no, Jaspreet, I don't think it's donation. It should be called charity. I don't think it's charity. It should be called something else. So subjectivity is a very, very big problem, if we can say, in qualitative research, but there are ways to validate that also. Okay. Now I'll start this as a story. Okay. I am one of those researchers who's very passionate to do research on Indians, right? One of those researchers who's been told by seniors that, Jaspreet, in your title of the paper, don't write a study on India. I mean, I've been advised that. I'm telling you what I've been advised and what I've been doing. Don't write it's a study on India, because the moment you write it's a study on India, it can't be generalized. It will not get selected. But as first author also in Emerald journals, I have reached till ABDC B category and I've always written India. Okay. This one paper, qualitative paper, which I started last year I got hold of what is qualitative research. I learned it. I took counseling from some people who were good in it. And I started a paper, and this paper was on, and this is a very big topic of psychology also now, that we in marketing, in management, there's a subject called consumer behavior. And that is nothing but psychology. So it's Maslow's motivation needs we learn. We learn the Pavlov's test, that dog experiment, that also in learning. Everything applies to consumers. So what I did is I deviate a little from consumer, because I did like psychology in my graduation, and that is the reason I took up consumer behavior. And I said, okay, let me ask these Indians what is sustainable. Okay, let me ask them what are their beliefs, what are their values. So basically, this was a study on the value system. Okay, in personality, value, these were the major criteria. And I said, okay, let me see. And why I took this up is because, Zara's are coming and H&M's are coming. We are doing sustainability. Okay. What are you doing in sustainability? We are making a kapda out of cotton. अरे यार वो तो हम already बना रहे थे. Cotton, khadi ये तो already था. इसमें मतलब who's a bigger sustainability master than we Indians? So we are making cloth out of cotton. We are sustainable. Don't waste raw material, don't waste XYZ. So what I did is I studied the baby boomers. Who are the baby boomers? People above 60 years of age. Okay, uncles and aunties above 60 years of age. Their sustainability initiatives of that generation cannot match any sustainability initiative of this generation or that of H&M's and Zara's and XYZ companies. And I knew this, and I was observing this in my family, in other families also. So I said, okay, let's write a paper on this and let's bring to the world that it is Indians who are the, original sustainability model operators. And we had this sustainability inbuilt in our society, in our family, in our values already. So not something new that MNCs has brought. It was there way back. So if I'm interviewing someone who's 60-year-old, so you can imagine that 40 years old, that person, when he got married, he was sustainable. So we don't need an H&M and Zara to tell us that we are sustainable. So this was the basis. I took up personal interview, okay, for this qualitative data. Remember one thing, when you do a personal interview, the number of people on which you do the interview is small. Okay, my PhD scholars sometimes come and say, ma'am, I want to do a PI, so should I do it on 200 people? So I say, नहीं यार कर लो, पर मेरे पास डेटा मत लाना, मेरे को माफ करना, मैं 200 लोगों का textual data, 2000 words in one transcript, I cannot analyze. So ideally, at least for a research paper, 25 to 35 personal interviews is more than enough. Number one, okay. Personal interview or focus group or whatever, projective techniques, psychology, there is so many projective techniques, but a sample in qualitative research, 25 to 35, even for an A category paper. Now here again and again, I'm saying A category. So in management, we go by the ABDC list, Australian Business Deans list. With all due regards, we do not, follow the UGC list. Okay, so for me, and even for you people, if you want to publish a paper, I suppose more than UGC, if you want to go to the lowest good level, please check that the journal should be there in Scopus. Scopus is very wide. It's not like ABDC. ABDC has only 2,700 journals, and they are categorized into A star, A, B, C. And there are many psychology journals in ABDC also. Okay, but there the journals are psychology and marketing, psychology and consumer, such. If you want to write on psychology, go to the Scopus database, check whether the journal is there in Scopus or not. It can be there in the UGC list, but it should be there in the Scopus. My suggestion, students, is that less than Scopus, any publication, with all due regards, is a zero publication. I have learned it the very hard way, that if some publication is non-Scopus, okay, so initially when I started research, I started submitting for some universities, so I used to get very happy, okay, wo Ansal University mein mera journal mein paper select ho gaya. I used to get very happy, but slowly and gradually I understood it's just no use if it's not there, at least in Scopus. So please take that as your target journal, number one. Now, 25 to 35 people you need in a good Scopus, or even to get through Scopus, 25 to 35 participants is more than enough. I'll show you the transcripts. Okay, when I say transcript, all the data you get from one person qualitatively is called a transcript. Whether you get it through projective techniques, whether you get it through personal interview, whether you get it through focus group. Now, I got 25 to 35 transcripts of men and women above 60. Okay? There was a set of 10 to 15 questions that I have. Again, in a PI, personal interview, or in a qualitative techniques, the number of questions you have could vary from, say, 8 to 15, and they have to be open-ended, compulsory. There are no two ways about this. Should they be yes or no? No, they should not be yes or no. Should they be strongly agreed to strongly agreed? No, it's ban in qualitative research. They should be open-ended. Now you might say, ma'am, open-ended बना दिया तो फिर तो और मुश्किल हो जाएगी. क्या क्या लोग बोलेंगे उसको, इतना को कैसे हम categorization, how will we do it? That is exactly what I'm going to tell you right now. That is exactly what I'm going to tell you. So they are open-ended questions. Now, the type of data that I collected for this research. So what is my objective? My objective is To find out or to explore. Generally, we use the word explore in qualitative research because this is exploratory research design. Okay. To explore the value system of baby boomers in India, okay, for the initiatives of sustainability. This is my research objective. I hope the research objective is correct, is clear. Then I started my process. Now, what did I start or how did I start? So, what are the data that I collected in Nvivo? You can analyze different types of data. Number one, the first thing that I do is I pick up my competitors in the market. When I say market, means the research market. So this is Dr. Vyas, a paper of Dr. Vyas, which was somewhat similar to my paper. So, when I read it, I listed it as a competitor paper. I call it competitor paper. You should not find more than 3 to 5 competitor papers, please. So when you're doing your secondary data, if you find more than 3 to 5 competitor papers, drop the topic. I'm telling you something which might sound very harsh and straightforward, but I'll not be diplomatic here. What I've learned in 3 years, I have to tell you in 2.5 hours. Okay. So if you get competitor papers similar to your topic, look at the title of this. It's very similar to my topic. So if you get more than 3 to 5 competitor papers, drop the topic. Don't work on it. But I got, I think, 3. So this was one. One was by Dr. Pandey and one was by some lady called Norris, an old paper of 2005. So 3 papers I got, where these people had actually worked on baby boomers or the normal middle class, not only baby boomers, but the middle class also. And they had asked them about their value system. Okay, value system for the initiatives of sustainability. And all of them, and even I, have worked on domestic sustainability. I am least bothered about whether they buy sustainable cloth or not. I'm not bothered about how they dispose of their waste and then where does it go in supply chain. I'm not bothered about that. I am bothered about in their domestic front, ghar ke andar, what are the sustainability initiatives they have? And if there are any sustainability initiatives, what was that value system? What was that Indian value system because of which these initiatives they were undertaking? This was my research. This is one of my competitor paper. So in Nvivo, the first thing you can do is you can go to import, okay, go to files, okay, and from the desktop, select a file. I'm just doing this for you, although I have already imported. I'm just doing this to you to show you as a demo. Suppose this is one of the file. It will give you an option of import. I hope you can see the pop-up box which has come up. You can see, okay. So press import, okay. It will ask you for the file details. So it will ask you the name and it will ask you a description of that file. So name, by default, it has taken the name of the file. Description, if you want to put it, otherwise you can leave it and just press an OK. So you can see here, I've highlighted it in blue. The file has been imported into Nvivo. Okay. This is how all these files that you see on the screen have been imported into Nvivo. Now, what are the types of inputs of data that you can take or input points that you can take? And by the way, in qualitative research, the biggest problem is validity. So if you get data from 4-5 places, validity increases. See, one thing is I interviewed 25-35 people, they said this. Another thing is I went and took pictures in their house, I analyzed that. I went to YouTube and analyzed any videos on the topic about Indians about. So, when there are too many data points and you are listing a model, the validity of the research increases. Try and take data from many inputs. Just don't say I did a PI. Bas, maine PI kara, kaam khatam kara. Don't say that. So first type of data is the secondary data. So this is my secondary data that you see on the right side. You can double click the file to see it on the right side. And this is domestic artifact sustainability in the context of Indian middle class. And Dr. Vyas has actually studied sustainability in the Indian middle class. Then he studied the motivation and the values behind the sustainability, and he's written a paper. So I got 3 such papers. What I'll do with it, that I'll show you in a minute. The second type of data that I got was my personal interviews. Of course, I had taken personal interviews also. So I'm showing you just one sample, but mind you, as many as you have, you can pull into Nvivo. So if you have 35 interviews, pull all into Nvivo. Now, this is my interview. So I asked her, what are the ways in which you try and reduce your home wastage in your home, garments, vessel, electricity, etc. And look at the amount of text that each question has. So this is what we need. Okay. If you go with a question, open, even if it's an open-ended question, something like, do you believe in sustainability? And the person says yes or no and finishes the question. That data, this yes, no data cannot be used, forget in Nvivo, even if I'm doing a manual thing, it's no use. I need this much data. Each of my transcripts, when I say transcript, it is the qualitative data taken from one person, is minimum 1500 words, minimum. And that is exactly what I tell my PhD scholars also. Sometimes they do get, agitated. They said, ma'am, even 5 minutes people are not ready to give me. You are telling me to give me 30 minutes transcripts and 25 to 35 transcripts and 1500 words. That's too much, ma'am. I mean, that's too much. But it's not, it's never easy to do a perfect work. You'll have to put in some effort. So this is the amount of data that you need. This is the form in which you need it. Some people also ask me that, ma'am, if we get an audio of 30 minutes, can it be imported into Nvivo? It can be imported. But again, while coding, I'm coming to coding now, it is always better that you convert the audio into words, like I have converted, and then put it into Nvivo. They also asked me another question that, ma'am, can this, so everybody looks for shortcuts, and even I did so they say 30 to 45 minutes I've recorded this lady's transcript. Is there a way of software can automatically convert? It can convert. But what happens over here is that when she says that there was old roti, which I used to give to dogs, I never used to throw it away. So that roti cannot be, absorbed by the software. And instead of roti, the software will write it righty, R-I-G-H-T-Y. Okay, so something like this. And there are many such words which have been used in the Indian context. And I am again one person who has in the paper also, if they said roti, I have cited it as roti, bracket open, Indian bread. Okay, so these are, for example, there was something called a sari. So she said old sari. Now sari is a sari. You can't say old garment. Sari particularly, she said. So I've written sari and I've written in brackets the Indian ethnic wear. Okay. So how will the software interpret sari? How will it convert it into English? So, there is data which becomes malicious, and then my analysis goes haywire. So I haven't found a shortcut. That 30 minutes transcript, I listen and I manually, write it down. Also, in qualitative research, sometimes, the gestures are very important. So, there was one time when she said in this research, when I was talking about values of sustainability, she said, Jaspreet, I had a huge family. I had my sister-in-laws to be married, my kids to be married. So when she was saying this, there was an expression on her face, and that expression was very low. So when she was saying this, I could feel a pain, I could feel a helplessness in her tone. We add those also in the lines. So when she says that line in bracket, I'll put the respondent was low in voice. The respondent looked a little helpless while saying this, right? That is software. All these things the software cannot do. Okay, even if it does, it will be this thing. Of course, there are transcription services which you can take. So Nvivo itself has a transcribing services where it will convert that audio, where there will be people who will manually convert that audio into a text. But anyways, you can take that, but that's a very highly paid. Why not do it yourself? It's just, it'll take you time, get a team of 3 people and do research, and probably 3 people mean 8 transcripts. I don't think it's that big a thing. Now, after you...
Ma'am, can I ask one question here?
Yes, yes, yes.
If an interview is taken in Hindi, you translate it in English first?
Yes, yes,
and
I
then
do. Yes.
So that is done obviously manually, because
yes.
even the
Yes.
software.
Yes. In fact, 3 of my ladies, because they were 60 plus, they gave me interview in Punjabi also. But then, and that's exactly, ma'am, there aren't softwares which convert from Punjabi to English. The problem is that the languages which are available, Indian regional languages are not even available in that. And sometimes when you're dealing with 60 years old, or there was this one professor of ours who was doing, I met in IIM, who was wanting to do a research on truck drivers. अब truck drivers क्या मतलब English बोलेंगे ना, तो वो तो अपना, if you go to South, they'll be in their language. So transcribing has to be done manually, or you take help from someone, some local help. That is what. So this is the second type of data, my personal interview transcript I have pulled in. The third type of data that I pulled in is pictures. All right. So although these pictures have been taken from an article, but when you go to these people's home, you know, you could actually take pictures of sustainable initiatives which they have done and pull those pictures into Nvivo. So the third type of data that you can pull into Nvivo is pictures. The fourth type of data that I pulled in, and look at my data points, you know, I'm trying to reiterate the same thing through different data points so that my research is valid. This is the fourth type of data that I pulled in, which was videos. So I got some videos about people who are sustainable. So, so this is a video where, you know, they were talking about a couple who have left the city and shifted to in the harmony of nature, so on and so forth. So this was a video I picked up where these old couple, of course, my age category, they have actually left the city and they have moved to a small little house, and they made their own mud house, and they have all organic vegetables. So that is a lifestyle they have picked up. What values govern them, that of course is research which will come. So this is something I got. Another type of data that you can get, although I didn't use it in my research, is social media data. So I'm just showing you a file of social media. So this is social media data. I got some 7,000 posts about sustainability from Twitter, hashtag sustainability India. But I did not use this data because, you know, this data will have the sustainability initiatives or the charcha about sustainability for all age groups. Okay. And my research was categorically about 60 plus. So I got data to show you, but I didn't use this data. I didn't use this data because I can't differentiate of, you know, which data is from 60 plus and which is not. So that I didn't use this. And then my category is not on Twitter also. वो 60-year-old uncle auntie को बेचारे ऑनलाइन बैंकिंग नहीं आती, उनको क्रेडिट कार्ड नहीं है, तो इंडिया में ये भी देखना पड़ता है. So they are not on Twitter. So that is something I left. So these are the types of data we have. Now let's start research quickly. So the first thing you do in qualitative research is what we call coding. Okay. And this coding is a little different from the qualitative coding that we do. So if you remember in qualitative coding, it was easier, you know, strongly agree 5, strongly disagree 1. Okay. Somewhat agree or disagree 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that coding. That was simpler. This coding is going to be difficult. Ideally, we go for what I'm going to do over here is something what we call a word-to-word coding, or something that we call an open coding. Okay, so all of you who thought that, I can throw 35 transcripts into the software and the software will automatically code them and give me themes and I'll just publish those themes, you are mistaken. It's not that way. This software will only help you to organize qualitative data, not do your analysis. That for qualitative analysis, you need the logical reasoning of a researcher. I'm saying that again and again. So now I started my interview and I start coding. Now, we have been donating old garments and vessels. So I asked her, how do you reduce wastage at home? She said, I've been donating old garments and vessels. This is the first thing which she listed. Okay, so I will code this, right click, go to code, create new, press create new, and say donating was one of the value that we found out. Code selection to new code, and it becomes a code. Go to the next line. Generally, we give it to maids. Again, this is donation. Okay, so right click, code selection. Okay, now I don't need a new code because I had already made the code donating. So I go to donating, press this and press code selection to donate. Now, how do I know that all these sentences that I'm coding are actually getting into that code or not? For that, on the left side, you will have something called codes. You can go to the code donating. I made a code donating. I can see that code over here. Okay. I can see that code over here, donating. I will double click the code. When I double click the code, I will be able to see those two sentences or 3 or 20 sentences. When you do this for 25 transcripts, it will be some 20 sentences, which I have coded into the theme donation. Okay. So if you really want to check that your coding is going correct, go to codes. In codes, go to that particular code, like I've come to donating, double click it. On the right side, you will be able to see all the references that had been picked up from transcripts to make this code. Correct? Now, let me go back. At any point of time, if you want to go back to your files, okay, on the left side, there's something called files, data and files. If you double click this, your files will open. Again, my files have come. Okay. Now, I was on interview transcript. I'm double clicking interview transcript. Anything that you want to see in the main screen on the right side, you just have to double click. So donation was one thing. She also says that in olden days, we used to give it to our juniors and the garment was worn by 3 generations. So now right click, code selection, and I can put it into something called reuse. So let me, I will call this reuse. Code selection to new code. Also, before I do this coding, I forgot to tell you, in research, we have to go by past theories. So if you are doing this coding or whatever you are doing, you have to use a model. So if you are, suppose your research is on what are the motivations of self-actualization stage in a consumer when he is buying a product. Suppose this is your topic of research. For that, you will have to say in the review of literature chapter that I am following Maslow's need hierarchy theory for my research. Okay. Now, similarly, because I was working on value system and sustainability, so I followed the 3R theory of sustainability. What is the 3R theory? It says reduce, reuse, and recycle. Okay. So I took that theory in mind to build up my research. Okay. So that has to be specified in section number 2 or chapter number 2 of your research paper. Right. So generally, when we see a research paper, qualitative or quantitative, the chapter number 1 is defining the rationale. Why should I be doing research? So in chapter number 1, I have said categorically that there is no such research which lists the major values and motivations of Indians towards domestic sustainability. I have said that. I've also discussed my competitor papers, 3 papers, and I have said this is what they have done, and this is what they have left off, and this is what I'm doing. So this is chapter number 1. Chapter number 2, you define the theory that you take as a base. So if your research is on self-actualization, primarily you are following the Maslow's theory. So you write about that theory and say, okay, I am following Maslow's theory. Okay, and this much work has been done on it. And this one area, self-actualization, has been neglected, or very scarce research is there in this area. So I'm going for it. This is chapter number 2. In my case, my theory was the 3R theory of sustainability, which was reuse, recycle, and reduce. Okay, I'm just telling you this is the base. Now, when I'm doing coding, I will not categorize the full data only into the 3Rs. Why? The world has worked on 3Rs. The world has worked on 3Rs. There are so many research papers where they say recycle, reuse, reduce. But when I am working on this qualitative data, what is my purpose? You know, I tell my PhD students also, 3 times that you have your food, 3 times just verbally, say your objective so that you remember, you don't go astray. So here, my purpose is I have to get the values and motivations of Indians for sustainability. That's my logic. Agreed, I'm taking the 3R theory as a base, but I have to bring in some new variables. This is qualitative research. This is exploratory research. If I list same three factors as codes, what new am I adding when it comes to Indians? Nothing. So I have to keep in mind that although my base is the 3Rs, I need new codes, and donation is that new code. Okay, so while coding, you have to take this in your mind. Now, so in olden days, we used to give it to juniors. The same garments could be worn by 3 generations. Right click, reuse. Okay. Also, a same sentence can be coded in 2 themes, okay, or 2 codes. For example, in olden days, we used to give it to juniors. The same garment could be worn by 3 generations. So here, if you see juniors, generations, there is a family component over here in sustainability, okay, or a family value. So I will right click, I will code selection, and I will put it into a new code called family. Right? You might say that this one sentence then will be visible in 2 codes. One is family and one is reuse. Doesn't matter. It's okay to code one sentence into 2 codes. It's absolutely fine. Okay. Okay. This was especially true with silk sarees and party dresses. Now she's become selective about her commodities, what to donate and what to not to donate. So she says that these garments which were given to juniors or which were given to my next 3 generations were primarily the expensive sarees and party dresses. When it came to basic cotton, which gets faded or which gets worn out, those used to be given to maids. Those used to be donated to NGOs. But the silk sari, she specified silk sarees because silk is expensive. She also said that the lady also said that my wedding wear or the trousseau that I got during my wedding, even that is something which I used to give to my 3 generations. Okay? Baki sara I used to donate to maids. So here, when she says silk sarees and party dresses, there are 2 new codes I made. One was, I can make one code, which is categorization of commodities. So she's categorizing. Silk sarees will be given to my children, and the cotton will be given to maids. She's categorizing. So this was one new code. From within this, I got another code, which was emotion. So have I made it? If I've made it, I'll just quickly put it in there. No, I haven't made it. Okay. So another code which I got is emotion. Look at her emotions. It's a silk sari, it's a wedding wear. She says, I'll only give it to my family. And even in family, she was very specific. She said, my daughter in law, my granddaughter, or my grandson, these are the people who are going to be given these clothes. Okay, not the far off relative. She was very clear. So, that emotional part, okay, or that emotional value is something which is present in her, okay, when she is thinking of sustainability or discarding the waste products in her house. So these were the major themes I made. I hope you've understood what is coding, okay. And after doing all this, the major codes that I got, if I go to codes on the left side, these are the major codes I got from my 25-35 transcripts. So there was value for money was a very, very big thing. I mean, these guys said that the biggest value that was given to us by our parents, and which was also crucial for us to go sustainable, was value for money. Okay, something which is, I think, inbuilt in Indians, and this is the, source or seed where it is inbuilt. Okay, this is from where it started, because don't waste money, buy only as much as you want, you don't need this, don't waste money on this. These are sentences which we have been listening since time immemorial. And so much so that when I asked these people about value for money, when they said there was a value called value for money in the society, in our family, I asked them that what was your salary class. So my first questions was, what was the family income of the family? And I was shocked to see that the sentence that don't waste and value for money, this is something which even the biggest businessman has said this. So it's not that these people were not rich, and this is a very big finding I've cited in my paper, which is now in the review process, okay, with an Emerald B category journal called Society and Business Review. So it's in review. Let's see how it fares. They did say categorically that not that we were short of money, but we didn't waste money. Okay, so value for money, skill. So the lady said that, especially this comes in recycling also. Okay, so my 3R theory and recycle and the value. So they said that I had the skill to convert an old bed sheet into cushion covers. I had the skill to convert my sari, a chiffon sari, into a salwar suit. Okay, so because they had this skill, sustainability initiatives at the domestic front were easier. In the same research report, I have compared this generation to generation Z. Okay, so I've left my generation Y. I've left because generation Y would have some values from generation X and some from Z. So we are a mixture. So we in a jovial way, we also discuss ki, sometimes we say ki we are that generation who in our younger days we listen to our parents, and in our old days we are listening to our children. तो हम तो अपनी कभी भी नहीं कर पाए, मतलब पहले हम पेरेंट्स की सुनते रहे, अब हम बच्चों की सुनते हैं. So we could. So this is one generation which has values from both the sides. So that is why, to just separate these generations and values, I took baby boomers, okay, which is the grandfather's generation, and I took the grandchildren's generation, which is generation Z. And we made a comparison of their sustainability motives and values, etc. So these all values which are listed in baby boomers, nothing of this sort was found in generation Z. Nothing. Okay. So much so that I interviewed one of the girls who was some 19 years old. Okay. And I said, do you share your clothes with your sister? She said she dare not touch my almirah. So that was the reply she gave. And the generation Z is very straightforward. So, they're not going to see that it's some research or some researcher. She dare not touch my shirt. So I understood, that sharing thing and all that is something which was there in baby boomers. Those values are slowly and gradually not, they're getting segregated. So skill was one thing. When I interviewed the generation Z, on this parameter, and because I had interviewed the baby boomers, so I went to Generation Z and I asked them, I said, what about, having a sewing machine and stitching and, converting some cloth into a usable bag, maybe like you saw the pictures. There was a denim jean which was converted into a bag, with a lot of patchwork. So it's okay till the time, I mean, nobody minds a patchwork till the time the bag is, something that it can be carried. And it's a very tough, a bag made of denim will be very tough, unlike a polythene bag. So when I asked this generation, they said, we don't have the time. Okay, one, and we don't have the skill. हमको ये सीना वीना नहीं आता, मशीन रखने के लिए हमारे घर में जगह नहीं है, और कौन करेगा, सैटरडे संडे तो मिलते हैं, उसमें हम सिलाई करनी शुरू कर दें. So this was the type of reply that I got from the Z generation, and then we have compared the values. So skill was one. Role of woman was a very, very big thing. So sustainability in the baby boomers generation that I found out from my PI was primarily the role of the woman. So it was the woman who decided which cloth to give to whom. The men did not have any say. Okay. Vis-a-vis this, there were some sustainability initiatives like buying groceries in bulk. So, there were women who told me that they used to buy an annual grocery. And in their house, which was of course huge in previous times, they had a room where this annual grocery was kept. And this annual grocery was bought by their husbands, and the budget of that was also decided by the husbands. Okay. So, I saw a demarcation of gender roles in the family when it came to domestic sustainability initiatives. Something that I did not see in Generation Z. Okay, so there weren't roles. Everybody was doing everything. So all men were doing everything and all women were doing everything. Here, there were very, very demarcated roles for the women. Reuse, reduce, recycle. This is from my model. So, okay, moral values. Yes. So I did, ask them. These guys told me that, it came out in my research that, and I've heard that from my parents also, that there were 3 saris and we would not buy the next sari till the time there was a marriage coming up. Okay, so again, among old people also, till date, I see even my father, till date, when it comes to garments, formal garments, he has those 3 trousers and probably 4 shirts, and he keeps on repeating them. And he doesn't feel ashamed of repeating them. And that was the case with this generation. So they told us that till date, forget what they were when they were married and all, they say till date, when my son discards a shirt, ki ye purani ho gayi hai, it's old now and I don't want to use it, I take it and I use it. I wear it in the house, or maybe to go to the market, I wear it. I can't throw it out because, we should not waste. So now when I asked them what was the motivation of this, agreed that they have this problem that they can't throw things which are new. And even if it's like, a Benetton shirt which is not suiting their age, they will still wear it, at least at home or outside. So when I asked them that, why? I mean, why so? So, I mean, the women actually said that this is something we've been taught by our mothers, that when you get married and then when you get to your house, it's your responsibility to save the money. Don't get lured by new saris. Buy only as much as you want. Further, when they were narrating to me the sustainability initiatives, they said that the leftover food, there was this very solid value of not wasting food. For a minute, you could waste money. For a minute, you could waste garments. But wastage of food was a criminal offense in families. So these were those ladies who used to, if something, first thing they used to cook very small amounts, very small calculated amounts. So these were women who told me that, हमारा वो दाल चढ़ाने का एक कटोरी का नाप होता है. So half a katori or 1 katori or, small little bowl, half a bowl or 1 bowl. We used to measure and, so that it doesn't get wasted. Number 2, they said, even if something at night is there, we used to eat it the next day, or from old rice, we used to make pulao, or I asked them, what about roti? So the old roti you can't eat the next day. So they said even that used to be taken by the man, and it used to be put to cows or dogs. So you can imagine the level of value system that these guys or these people were infused where they said that. And they've actually told me the good thing about qualitative research is it's very enjoyable when you're listening to people. They go on saying and saying, and your data becomes very, very rich. So they said, they gave me narrations like, our parents used to say, वेस्ट मत करो, गरीबों को नहीं मिलता है इंडिया में. So don't waste. There are hundreds of Indians in India who don't get food. Okay, don't waste. We are a poor country, and there are so many on the roads who are not getting food. So this thing got so fixed into their mind that although they are rich, although they have money, they can't waste a single roti, despite the fact that they know that it is unhygienic to eat it the next day. So, stale food is not something which is very hygienic. They know the logic to it, they know the science to it, but they can't waste it. So they will go all the way to give it to a cow, but they'll not waste it, right? So these values, these are the things which came up. Also, let me tell you, in files, it's not just the PIs that we code other documents also. So suppose I go to this one picture, which is of recycling. I can code this also in Nvivo. So look at how I code it. There are 3 bags over here. First of all, you need to know the history of this. So this picture was taken in a house where this lady, because of the skill she had, she converted a denim, jean, a torn jean or an old jean. She stitched it into a bag. Number one. Number two, apart from the denim bag, which is a method of recycling. Okay, so she converted this into this. There was also a jute bag in her house, and this lady was not using poly bags or polythene. So I was very happy, because in all these values that I got from the 35 transcripts, there was not a single person who said that we go sustainable because of environment. This generation was least bothered about environment. They were too busy making 2 ends meet. So this lady, told me that this bag I made from denim, this jute bag. So now I started coding. So what you do is you select the denim bag, okay, right click it, go to code selection and say recycle. Now this is recycling. And remember my 3R model, I'm going according to that. So I say recycle. There was a jute bag over here. So I go to the jute bag and I right click and I go to code selection, and I will code this as reduce. Why I say reduce is because, why I've coded a jute bag into reduce is because the number of times you take a jute bag to the market, the lesser amount of polythene bags do you use, which harm the environment. So taking that principles of sustainability, I have put this into reduce and recycle. Also, this one part, the denim part, this wouldn't have become a recyclable bag if the lady did not have the skill. So right click, code selection. I have already got a variable called skill. So I put it into skill. A skill is a very big factor when you're converting a denim into a bag. Whereas when it comes to this jute bag, okay, there was another code also which came into this, which was code selection, and it was value for money. So, they said that if we go to a supermarket or a superstore or something and buy grocery, 24/7s also do it. So, they say, do you want a carry bag? And we say, yes, we want a carry bag. And then they charge us 12 rupees. So they said, if I take my jute bag, I save on those 12 rupees every time I visit a shop. So value for money was also one criteria that they narrated when they were showing me these pictures. So this is the way you code pictures. Now, how do I code my video? So this is my video. Can you all, is the video audible? Just check, because, is it audible?
No, ma'am.
No. So I'll have to share it again. Give me one more. So while sharing, there is an option of share sound. Yes. So let me share my screen only because I'll be taking you to papers also. So this is the video. Now you'll be able to hear it. Just hear it for a few seconds to know that why I pulled in this data.
Giving back to the planet more than what they take. We caught up with a couple from Kannur in Kerala who were living their dream, a dream of living naturally, away from the humdrum of the city. In a 34-acre piece of land, they have grown their own food forest. They live in a tiny house made of.
So these guys have come from the city. They have made their own tiny house. They have organic food. And I want to know, what is that value? What is that value system? And of course, it's my age group. It's the 60 plus age group, 55, 60 plus age group. So I wanted to know that what are the values which drove them over here. So now I start doing coding. Okay. So how do you code a video or an audio? So this could happen to an audio also, because some of you might, like some of you said that, what if I take an audio in English and I put it straight away to Nvivo and don't convert it into a transcript? So this applies for both that audio and video. So we'll just start coding. So the first thing you have to do is play the play button. Okay, so first thing is let the video start. Okay,
There
on
are
the right
some
side,
people who
let
want to
me
live.
explain first. On the right side to the play button, you will have a start selection, and below this you will have a stop selection. Okay, these two buttons will be handy. We will start the video. We will start the selection from where we want to transcribe, and we will stop the selection to where the end of that transcription is, and we will stop the video. So just see, I'm doing it for you. Play.
Live in harmony with nature. They do not want the fast-paced and artificial city life.
Start.
But instead they create their own little natural microcosm, giving back to the planet more than what they take. We caught up with a couple from Kannur in Kerala who were living
Stop.
their dream, a dream
Stop
of
selection
living naturally,
and stop the
away
video.
from the humdrum of the city.
Okay. Now, if you see the timeline, when I played started selection, stop selection, you will see that there is a very small, you'll have to go a little near to your screen and see. There's a very, very thin blue color rectangle which has been made on this timeline. Now, this is the selected part that you have chosen, and now you have to code it. Okay. So I take my cursor near the this rectangular box, and I right click and I go to code selection, and I say this is harmony with nature. So whatever he said in this 1 minute, if you remember, he said that they shifted because they wanted to be closer to nature. They wanted harmony with nature. They have made their own mud house, vegetables, and so much acre of land they are living on. So they are pretty rich. I mean, it's not that they are poor, but they want to live a life which is harmony with nature. And this is one of the domestic sustainability initiatives that I found out in the video. So harmony with nature is the core. Now, if you play the button again, so just listen.
Life. But instead they create their own little natural microcosm, giving back to the planet more than what they take. We caught up with a couple from Kannur in Kerala who were living there.
Okay, it stopped. It stopped automatically. Now, what will happen is every time you play it, it will start and stop only at this selection. And the reason for doing this is that if you want to hear it again and do another coding, so the same thing if you want to code as say reduce, so you can do that, and the software allows you to hear this selected part again and again and again. But after hearing it and after doing the coding, which I've already done, now what I want is I want to go forward with my video. Okay, so what will I do? I will click on any part of the timeline and the rectangle will go away. Okay, the selection will go away. And now when I play the video, it will go ahead. So
Instead,
now
they
when it's
create their
playing,
own little natural
it
microcosm,
goes ahead.
giving back to the planet more than what they take.
Okay, and when it moves ahead,
We caught up
okay,
with a couple
and
from
it finishes
Kannur in
that
Kerala
selection
who
which
were
you've
living their
already
dream,
coded.
a dream of living
Now
naturally,
you can
away
again do
from
the
the
same
humdrum of
process.
the city.
Start selection.
In a 34-acre piece of land, they
Start
have grown their
selection.
own
Again,
food
the
forest.
video is going forward to the next selection.
They live in a tiny
And
house
you
made of earth,
stop
which is
selection
powered with
and stop
solar
the
energy.
video. Now this is the next part of the video. Okay. You have another rectangle, blue color thin rectangle on the timeline. Go to the rectangle, right click it, code selection, whatever you want to. Suppose it was environment consciousness that they were speaking about, and code it into code environment. Again, when you play, it will show
In a
this line,
34-acre piece of
this
land, they
particular
have
part
grown
again
their
and again
own
and
food
again.
forest.
And it will stop exactly where you had
They
stopped.
live in a tiny house made of earth, which is
It stopped. So as many times. So, when you do the selection process, it gives you time to read it again and again and again and do your coding. This is how we do the coding of a video file in Nvivo, right? Now, let me now go to, so we've done the coding of transcript, we have done the coding of a video, we have done the coding of a picture. Okay, audio is also the similar way. You have a timeline, start selection, stop, and code. Now let us go to, suppose after doing all this coding, so the codes that you saw, so these codes that you saw, the total codes that I have, somebody saying something? Please keep your questions till 11:10. Okay, another hour to go. And 11:10, I'll open the house to questions. So whatever questions you have, please just keep listing them. And 11:10, I'll start answering them. So these all codes that you see, okay, skill, value for money, moral, harmony, environment, these all have been coded not only from my personal interviews, my videos, audios, social media, pictures. Okay, if you have in qualitative research, sometimes we have diaries also. Okay, so these all codes that you see, they are coding done from all these input files that I showed you, and the process also I've shown you. So from Word documents, videos, audios, pictures, social media, everywhere I have taken a code and I have coded, and these are my total codes. Now I can chuck the data. Now the data is of no use to me. My codes are ready. Now next, what do I do? I'm going to the next step. Coding is finished from all types of data sets. Now I'm going to the next step. I can go to share, and in share, I can press export. So when I press export, there's a drop down which says export code book. Okay, so I press this. Okay, and I press OK, and look at what happens in the Word document. So this is a Word document, okay, and all my codes, all my codes have got listed automatically into this Word document. So these were my codes: awareness, donation, needs, emotion, environment consciousness, family, moral values, recycle, XYZ. Okay. Now this is what we call as, these are my first order codes. Okay. In technical terms, we say these are my first order codes. And if you are doing this over, say, 35 transcripts, some 10 videos, some 10 pictures, you'll get somewhere around, maybe in one research, I got somewhere around 60. Okay, 60 to 70 first order codes. Now, the next process is these first order codes have to be converted into themes. Okay, so we have to convert them into themes. What are themes? They are broader area of study. Okay, so these are small codes. We will convert it into themes. I'll do this one or two of them. I'll convert it to theme. Rest we have to do it with all 50, but I'll just do one. So okay, for that matter, there is this one code called emotion, and there's this one code called family. What I will do is I will club them together, and this is, of course, again, as I said, this is the researcher's logic. Okay, and I will term this as emotions. Okay, or emotional value. Correct. So I have clubbed these codes together, and I have made one theme, which is emotional value. Also, when you give a name to this code or to this theme, please do it with a group. So there should be 3 researchers who are sitting together and who are giving the name of this final theme, because what I call emotional value, maybe another person will say this is family value. This is not emotional value. So there has to be a brainstorming before we finally come to a theme. This is one method of validating your theme. Validating your theme means these themes, when they go to reviewers in journals, they say that this emotional value is wrongly themed. You should have called it something else, or you should have clubbed it into this value, X, Y, Z. So to prevent that, we do this theming in a group of 3 people so that there is no subjectivity left. Okay. Also, after doing this process of theming, we show these themes to an expert. Okay, so we show these themes to an expert, and expert as in the expert in this area. So if you're doing it on a psychological value, which I was, so I showed it to psychologists and I showed it to sustainability experts after this. Experts as in academic experts. And they have to validate it. Sometimes they also give their suggestions that no, Jaspreet, this should not be economic value. This should just, emotional value. This should just be family sentiments. Okay. So that this is a whole process of validation. And finally, after doing it in groups of 3, after asking the experts, you say, okay, emotional value is my major theme, one of the major themes. Another thing which has come up again and again. So when it comes to donation, I'm just coloring the first order theme. They said donation, donating came many a times. Okay, maids came many a time. Let me see anything else that has come in donation or could be donation. Okay, so donation came many a times. Giving to maids, giving to NGOs, this came many a times. Giving to guards, old shoes to guards, this also came many a times. So I will call this as donation. The major theme will become donation. The major theme is donation. Okay. Now, here is where subjectivity comes in. So when I show it to an expert, he might just say that Jaspreet, donation is not the correct word. The theme should be charity. Fine, fair enough. It's good for me because, in the research paper also I do write. Then when I was converting the first order codes to themes, I did, while for experts, they were giving their, suggestions, and thus my model is even more validated. It's good for me if they change a few things here and there. So finally, from my first order codes, which is somewhere around 50, I might just get somewhere around 8 to 10 themes, major themes: charity, emotional value, value for money, X, Y, Z. Okay. Now, the next thing is checking if these themes are new. When I say new, new to research, new to me, or are they something which was already listed with my competitor papers? Remember the competitor papers, Dr. Vyas, Dr. Pandey, Norris? So now I want to see, because I have to write it in my paper. See, writing a paper is also nothing but marketing a paper. So, you have to say that these are the major themes which came up in my research when I did it on Indians and domestic sustainability. And you also have to say that these themes have not been studied in the past. Only then will your paper get published. Otherwise, it's not going to get published, for sure. So, if I have to say that these themes have not been studied in the past, I will have to cross-check it. This is where the software will help me. Now just see, I've got two themes, emotional value and charity. Let me cross-check with the software if these were present in past research, especially my competitor paper. So what do? I go to Explore. In Explore, I go to text search. Okay. And in text search, it says select items, and I select all my competitor papers. Domestic artifacts was one of my papers. Similarly, I have 3-4 papers. Norris, Pandey, I select all of them. Okay. And I press an OK. Now, in these papers, what do you want the software to, search? So I want the software to search emotions. Okay. Also, a software is a machine for which emotion, emotions, emotional are 3 different words. So on the right side, you have this option. Okay. So there is an option of stemmed words. Now, what does stemmed words means? That if it is, suppose you're putting emotion. So emotion, emotional, emotions, all these 3 words will now be taken as one by the software. And an exact match means that it will only list emotion as one theme, emotions as another theme, emotional as a third. So stemmed words. Further, the software also gives you a choice of synonyms. So, where there is emotional, sentimental word coming in your past research papers, even that will be listed. So let me, as of now, go for the stemmed word. So emotion, emotional, emotions, anything of this sort, if it has come in the past papers, competitor papers, I want to know. So I put here the word emotions, and I say stemmed words, and I say run query. Okay. Now, what is the software doing? The software is checking all my competitor papers, 5 papers, for a word which is emotion or something related to emotion, a value being reported in sustainability. Now, the software says I found 1 reference. Okay. So suppose in the past, in the 5 papers of the past that you got, the software has got only 1 reference, which means this is an understudied area. Okay. You can actually not show this table, but you can actually say that I did this search in Nvivo. I first made my major codes and themes. Then I searched these themes in my past papers, and I rarely found a theme called emotion. Okay. Let me do this with another major code that I have made, which is donation. Again, I want stem this thing. So run query, just let's see if donation has come. So the software says no, none of your competitors have ever listed this one variable or this one theme called donation when it came to Indian domestic sustainability. Again, you can write these results in your paper and say, donation or charity was one theme that I have listed in my paper, and it has never been. So, through the software, it said in Hindi में कहते हैं ना, डंके की चोट पे बोलना. ठीक है, डंके की चोट पे बोलो. डोनेशन एक ऐसी वैल्यू है, चैरिटी एक ऐसी वैल्यू है जो मुझे इंडियंस में मिली, सस्टेनेबिलिटी में मिली, और जो किसी पास्ट पेपर में कभी बताई ही नहीं गई. This is something which I have brought out as a major theme when it comes to sustainability among Indians. Okay, so this is the way in which you pick up the USP of your paper, and from all the 10 themes that you have listed, at least two होने चाहिए जो किसी भी पुराने पेपर में ना रहे हैं. So at least two themes are needed which do not match, or even if they match, only one reference, which is the areas under study. So this is one way in which you will study that which are the themes which are, new, and then I'll list it that this is new and this has never been found in my paper. So this is one thing, especially when you're writing chapter number 4, which is conclusion. So there's something called a managerial implication and there's something called a theoretical implication. Okay. So in the theoretical implication, we generally write that in the past 5 years in this area of psychology, this work has been done, but this one variable was never studied and I added it to the theory, right? So now I will say that I added this to the theory of 3 hours. Okay. Another method. Karuna ma'am, please mute yourself.
Please keep yourself muted. Thank you.
Another method. Another method of checking. See, now what am I doing? My research is done. My analysis is done. I'm just validating it. Okay. So that code sheet that I had, one validation which I did was I showed it to experts. The second validation that I did, or I showed that there's a gap in my research which I fulfilled, was with text search. Now, again, I want to validate that this is the right code. So another thing which we can do to validate is that I can go to explore, I can go to word frequency, okay, and I can select items, say all my interview transcripts. Here I've selected one, you might have 25. So select all those and say an okay, and just go, of course, with the stemmed words. Don't go for exact match, otherwise it will give you talk and talks and talking. It will list as separate words, which we don't want. So with stemmed words, just go and run a query. And the software will give you for all your PIs. And from where did you get the codes? You got all these codes from where? You got it from PIs. So when we make a word cloud of the PI, so you will get this in the form of a summary, okay? And you will get this in the form of a word cloud. Just below summary, there's a option of word cloud. So now all this tabular form, where the software has listed on the basis of how frequently a word has been spoken. So it's actually done what we technically call a content analysis. Okay, content analysis is the counting part of qualitative research. How many times the word came in those 25 transcripts? That is what the software is going to show through a word cloud. So now when you see your word cloud, if these are my themes, so on the left side, you can see my major themes, okay, or first order codes, whatever it is. And on the right side, you are now seeing the major now you're seeing the major word count. Now look over here, donate was there in your theme, it is there. What else? Reuse was there in your theme, it is there. Wastage, okay, so this is more to do with your value for money, it is there. Emotionality, just below attached emotionality, it is there. Sari and party items, which means categorization of articles, it was a theme, it is there. So majorly all your themes are there in the word cloud. This is the second method of validating, and this again you can show in your paper. Okay, so you can say that I validated my themes, the themes which I found, with a word cloud analysis of the PIs or the personal interview transcripts. And most of the prominent words that were found in the word cloud matched with the themes. On the left side, you see themes of first order codes. They matched with the theme. Thus, my themes are genuine and validated. Correct? There's another also way of validation. So one more validation that you can do over here is go to explore and go to home. But before going to home, you will have to click the file which you are wanting to do. So I have to go to files now. Files, okay. You will first select the file over here. Let me say interview transcript. Okay, I'm doing this with my interview, and I go to home option, and in home option I have something called an auto code. Okay. And there's something called identify themes. So this is an automated method of the software to identify the major themes in your research. Now you must be saying कि मैम इतना लंबा काम करा दिया, ओपन कोडिंग करा दी, एक एक लाइन अब मुझे करनी पड़ेगी और फिर मैं 35 ट्रांसक्रिप्ट से I'll be doing it. Why didn't I do this in the first place? This is an automatic theming, but remember, there is always a difference in the logical thinking and the output of a researcher vis-a-vis a machine. The logical output thinking that I did, it is there in front of you in the code book with the major themes. But when it comes to the software doing an automated theming, what are the results? Please see to know that which one is best, the open coding or the automated coding. So next, okay. Let's say finish, and it will give you all the codes, and just look at the codes. These are all the automated codes that the software has made out of your full data. Okay, all your transcripts data. So, you know, the software has given you codes like glass, process, party, etc., clothes, sari, value, and garment. Now, although if I click on value, yes, moral value, emotional value, these were as my major themes. But the other themes that I see, clothes, sari, glass, party, process, etc., garment, these were not the themes that I actually came up with. See, the point that I'm trying to tell you is that there is an auto coding option available in the Nvivo, but the amount of logical theming that you can do from an open coding, that cannot match that of what the software has done. If I list this in my paper, it will never get published. Okay, so by doing an auto code, I just wanted to show you that, and this is a theme, you know, so this is clothes is a theme. The first order codes that it has used to make this theme is reuse clothes and casual clothes. Okay. Similarly, value is the theme. So software says value should be one of your major themes. The first order codes that it has used over here is moral value and emotional value. Okay. So this is auto theming, auto coding by the software. I generally don't go for this unless and until, you know, why this option is actually there, what I feel, because I truly believe in open coding. You know, sometimes for some research, not for mine, the data is very huge. So, you know, when I go to something called social media, okay, so there might be 17,000 posts, 18,000 posts. If I start doing a line-to-line coding for it, I will never finish my paper. So for data which is that huge, you know, you can go for an auto code. Okay, but even after going for an auto code, you will have to get into these codes and analyze what has been coded into, say, sari bags or good sari. And to get into them, to see the references which the software has used to build up these codes or to build up these themes, on the left side, on the left side, where you have codes, okay, you will also have an option of automated codes. Okay, encoding. Yeah. So auto-coded themes. Okay, so this is another option that you get. If you double click it, you will be able to see all these are codes which the software has done, and they are huge in number. They are more than what we had done. Okay, so now you will have to get into these codes and read their references. For example, sari bag. You need one sari. Just a second. Sure. Yeah, sari. So just double click sari. Okay, if you double click sari, you will be able to see on the right side which two references or which two lines has the software picked up to make this code, equal to sari. Okay, and then you will have to do a reanalysis and say, okay, this probably was donation and not sari. So we give party wear or a good sari to maids only in Diwali season. So this is occasional donating. Okay, this is a semi-theme or a first order code called occasional donating. But from this one line, what the software has picked up is the word sari and it has themed it into sari. Right? So these permutation combinations you'll have to see, and that is the reason I don't go for an auto code. I better do it the manual way. But auto code is important sometimes, when you are dealing with a very huge data, as I said, it becomes important. Now, one more thing which you can do with this transcript. So I've just selected the interview transcript. Another thing that you can do with this is that you go to home, you go to auto code, okay, and you do a sentiment analysis. So identify sentiment, go to the second option of identify sentiment and go to next and code sentences and finish off the, so see what comes out of it. I didn't use it in my research, but I'll tell you exactly why people do this. So in the form of a chart, you can see that, when the Indians were talking about sustainability, domestic sustainability initiatives, and the value system related to that, okay, you see most of the data is somewhat moderately negative. Okay. Now, I would like to take you into this data and see that what has been listed by the software as moderately negative. So, in your overall personal interviews, 25 to 35 interviews, the sentiment is negative. When people are talking about domestic sustainability, when people are talking about the values that their parents gave them, because of which they were sustainable, there is a moderately negative sentiment in the script in your overall data. Now let me go to the moderately negative block. I've double clicked it and see that what has, software segregated into negative and positive. Now, the software segregates things into negative and positive on the basis of the word. So bad is supposed to be a negative word for the software. Discarded is supposed to be a negative word for the software. So here, whether the intention is negative or not, whether the meaning in the whole phrase is negative or not, that the software cannot analyze. Okay, this is what we write as in the last chapter. There's something called limitations of the research. We categorically say that Nvivo has this limitation, and it's not only Nvivo. There are many other softwares for qualitative analysis, the R software, the Atlas I, QDA Minor. There are so many softwares for qualitative analysis. None of the softwares have the capability of differentiating these, the sense of negative sentences. So, when there are sentences, so I'll give you an example. Suppose there's a sentence which says, I don't think I don't like you. Okay? I don't think I don't like you. Actually, what are you saying? You're saying, I like you. Okay. But that typical meaning of positivity, the software cannot take out. So the software will list, I don't think I don't like you, because there are 3 don'ts. It will list the sentence as negative, right? So this one limitation of the software is something that we generally even list in our research. We ideally do list this. Okay, so this is a flaw, this is a limitation, but overall, the good thing about this is that we can know the sentiment of the people. Now, you might say that how do we use it, because even I haven't used it in my research, but this is an option of Nvivo. So sometimes, for some researchers, we have to, look at the rationale of doing the research. So lately I read an A category paper where these people were implementing artificial intelligence on the human resources, on the employees. Okay. And they were finding out the psychological stress. So it was a report of psychology only. They were trying to find out the psychological stress that an employee goes through when suddenly he's been told that the organization is going to follow AI. Okay, and he's not technically sound, so suddenly AI is thrown on him, and he gets very, very stressed out. So that psychological stress at workplace, when an AI is suddenly implemented on your organization, that was what the paper was about. Okay, what were the factors which lead to that psychological stress? Now the author in chapter number 1 itself, or in the findings itself, to defend the rationale. So, for making this paper, he had to defend the rationale and tell the reviewer that there is a psychological stress. This is, when you say there's a psychological stress when AI is getting implemented in an organization, this is your hypothesis. This is your feeling. You have to defend it. So for that, what he did is he had taken some 35 interviews of employees. He took all those 35 interviews and did a sentiment analysis. Okay. So whatever they were speaking about implementation of AI in their organization, he did a sentiment analysis. And the chart that I just showed you, he got extremely negative. The bar chart of extremely negative sentiment came on the top. And it was a huge bar chart. So basically, through this sentiment analysis, he defended the rationale that when an AI is implemented in an organization, the people do go through psychological stress. To support this rationale, he did one more thing. He did a word cloud of all the employees. So when he did a word cloud of all the transcripts of the employees, words like stress, words like negativity, job insecurity, salary, pressure of technical upgradation, these words came prominently in the word cloud. Again, this word cloud helped him to rationalize his research, or say that his research was genuine, his research was needed. People did have psychological stress when AI was being implemented in their organization. So just to defend his rationale, he used the sentiment analysis of Nvivo and he used the word cloud. And after that, he did the proper coding and then theming of his 35 transcripts. Okay. So it depends on, logically how you use these things in your paper. Also, once you're done with this, finally, when you've got your codes and, you have reiterated the codes with a word cloud, you have reiterated the codes with maybe auto coding. After that, the next thing that you can do is you can make up a conceptual model now from your themes. So I go to explore, I go to maps, and I say mind map. Okay, so mind map, and here I say values of Indians sustainability. Sustainability. Okay. And I say, okay, so here comes a map. Now, you know what I can do? All these themes can be clubbed into a map, and this map or this model is something that I can put up in my paper. So once I've done the theming, once I've shown that they are valid, expert has checked them, I've checked them through word cloud, I've checked them through auto coding, so they are valid. Now I want to represent them as a conclusion of my findings in the form of a diagram or a conceptual model, which I have created exclusively for Indians. Okay, so what do? I would say sustainability, and I will go to insert, okay, sibling idea. Okay, remember my model that I had, I'm just inserting 3 sibling ideas. Okay, if you remember, I have told you that what was my basic theory? My basic theory was reuse. Okay, first write your basic theory that you had taken into consideration. Reuse, recycle, and reduce. These were my basic theories. Okay, now within reduce, okay, like for example, if you remember that denim bag or that jute bag, okay, in reduce, insert child idea. Okay, I have 2 child ideas. So for example, there was this one person who said that I use jute bags so that, I don't have to, pay 15 rupees, etc. So there could be, while reducing, again, there was another person who said that I switched off the lights because I didn't want to pay the bills. So this becomes value for money. Okay, reduce value for money. Again, when they said we reduced our consumption, which I told you that they had just 3 pairs of jeans or 3 saris, etc. And I asked them that why didn't you buy more, or why didn't you feel like buying more? So they categorically said that the societal pressure was not there. So if I had 3 trousers, the other person also had 3 trousers, despite the fact that both of them were rich or poor, whatever. People did not. So there was a societal pressure which is there right now. So for youngsters, there's a lot of societal pressure, So I have 2 teenage daughters, and every next day they are ordering from Amazons and Mintras. And when I say them that, your almirah is full, I mean, nothing about sustainability. I mean, only order that much as you need. So they tell me that, Mama, the picture has gone on Instagram. So now how can I repeat the garment on Instagram? So, that is the societal pressure that is there today. But when it came to this generation, even if a man was seen in the same trouser and the same shirt again, there was no societal pressure. This led to the reduction of purchase. So societal, what we call it, acceptance. Okay, it's okay to have just 3 trousers and keep on repeating it. Societal acceptance was very big. People did not feel that this guy had 3 jeans, so he's poor. Okay, they knew that he's rich, but there was a common value that was going around in the society. So under reduce, I get these 2 themes. Under recycle, if you remember, I'm inserting a child node. Okay, and I'm inserting a child node again. So in recycle, the first thing that I got, which was my theme, was the skill. So if that lady was not good on the machine, she would have never recycled the denim into a bag, the sari into a suit. So that skill was very important. Nobody wants to go outside and give it to a tailor and spend money and get it done. Okay, so skill was very important. In recycling or cutting of that sari, especially the sari, into a suit, for which there was a picture also where, you know, her daughter is actually flaunting a kurti that she has made out of an old sari. In this particular recycling thing, especially cutting of sari, the women were very sensitive, and they said that they had, family, so they would only recycle their garments, especially the sari and party wear, for the family. They would never, uh, donate it or giving to the maids or even give it to the person who's very far off in the family. Reuse. So in reuse, the major themes insert child themes. Let me insert two child themes here also. So one of the reuse which was very, very prominent was donation. So one of the reuse that I saw was they were giving it to maids, they were giving it to guards, they were, sort of donating it to such people. The other reuse that I saw was edit labels, so juniors. So I saw that books were being used by juniors, clothes were being used by juniors, three generations. So uh, that was something which was very common. So this is my whole conceptual model. Okay, I'm going to export this. So in any of the pictures, be it the word cloud, be it the sentiment analysis bar chart, be it this map, conceptual map that I've made, if you want to export it, if you want to take it out of NVivo, how do you do it? So you right click. So right click, okay, and go to export map. Right click, go to export map. The moment you go to export map, the name of the map is Value for Indian Sustainability, and this is on desktop. I'm saving it. The moment you export it, you will be able to see this on your desktop. This becomes a picture on the desktop. Okay. Okay, this is for yesterday's. Yesterday I did a FTP for Lady Erin. So this is your map, right? So you just open it up. This your map has got, listed. Now you copy it and just put it into your Word document. So this was your document. If this was your script, manuscript of paper. Sorry, codes. It seems quite a few codes. So anywhere you can, I'm just for the purpose of showing you, just paste it over here, and here comes your map in your this thing, and you can say final conceptual model for the. Okay, so this concludes your research. Okay, after doing all the coding, etc., this way you can conclude your research. Also, after this is a part of findings. Okay, so finding and analysis. Now, when you come to implication, which is the last chapter or the chapter number 5, what you can do is you can, when you're doing your findings, you've done your findings, you can always say that some 7 themes or 6 themes which have come up. Family or donation was a new theme. It was not found in the past research, and this is my contribution to the model. So, the 3R model was already there. Okay, but all these other themes that you see are your contribution or your theoretical extension of the model. And that is what you have to reiterate in the paper once you have done a model and you've made a model. Okay, so validation of this model has to be written. You showed it to experts, you validated it with a word count, with auto coding. That is one thing which is to be done. The second thing which is to be done is that all these themes that you've got, you have to prove in the paper, especially in chapter number 5, theoretical implications, that a few of these codes are new and they have never come up in the past research. You can do that by doing a word cloud of your competitor papers and showing it and saying that, okay, this code never came in the past papers. Correct? So this is how you conclude your research. I think what we'll do is we'll open the house to questions. Let me see how many questions are coming, because I'll have to manage the session that way. So let's come to questions first, and then maybe if we have time. So it's 10:55 already. So if we have time, I'll maybe probably do another part if there are not too many questions. So let me see first, because I think there are 110 participants. So I think questioning might just take a half an hour.
You can write their question in the chat box.
Yes.
By the time, ma'am, can you tell how this Nvivo can be downloaded? Is it freely available?
Oh, yes. No, it's not freely available, ma'am. I'm just sharing my screen. It's not freely available, unfortunately. And yes, so it's a lucky day. I got one of my papers. I've gone to review. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? Is my screen visible?
No, ma'am.
No.
Just give me one. Share screen. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all you have to do is just download Nvivo. So this is the website. I'm putting the link of the website in the chat so that where's the chat for this? So I've put it in the chat. So over here, what you'll have to first do is that you'll have to go to this and access the Nvivo portal. Okay, it says access the Nvivo portal. And in the Nvivo portal, I'm just going to the portal. The first thing you have to do is you have to sign up. So yeah, so this is the portal. Of course, I have signed up, so it's showing sign up. It also shows an option, don't have an account, sign up. So the first thing you have to do is go to don't have an account and sign up. Now, this is a whole process of signing up on Nvivo. So once you've done this, okay, then you can go to downloading any version of Nvivo. So once this sign up is done, the next thing is that you can download any version from that same portal. So when you sign up, okay, and after signing up, they'll send an email to your account, your email account. From that email account, first sign in, okay, after making that sign in. And when you sign in on this very portal, you will find three options, Nvivo 10, 11, and 12. So yeah, so it again says sign up. So when you sign up, you will get these three options, okay, of downloading Nvivo 10, 11, or 12. 12 is the latest version, okay. You can download it, okay. After you download Nvivo 12, it will remain with you for 15 days. So there's a trial of 15 days. So sometimes initially what I used to do is in my first paper, what I did is that I downloaded it and within 15 days, I finished the analysis. But the problem over here is that once downloaded on one IP address, it cannot be downloaded on the same laptop again. So if you people want to, in a way, again use it, you will have to use some other desktop or laptop to, download it. And let me also share with you the major softwares that are available is Nvivo, which is paid, Atlas I, which is paid. Okay, the free software is R software. Okay, and R software is the free software on which you can do qualitative analysis, but it has a lot of coding involved. So others, Nvivo, Atlas I, QDA Miner, these are three prominent ones and they are paid. But Nvivo, if I can tell you the price, it's somewhere around, what I bought is 7,800 rupees per annum. And this is for students. So, if you're a UG, PG, or you're a PhD scholar also, you can buy it for this much amount for a year. And I think it's worth a research. If you are seriously planning for qualitative research, it's worth an effort.
Now, which version is yours?
It's 12.
12, and that's the price for 12, 7,800 per annum.
Yes,
That's
yes. For the student version. So I'll take up the rest of the questions. Let me scroll up a little. can creativity also be a theme over here? Kashish, you know what happens with these, it could have been a theme, but what happened with these people is that, I tell my fashion students also when I'm teaching in Pearl Academy that sustainability तभी याद आती है जब पेट भरा हो, है ना? So this sustainability and all this is only applicable to the richer class of people who have the rest of the things, and then they feel, okay, we should do something for the earth and sustainability. Ask a poor man that if I give you a cloth worth 200 rupees versus 1200 rupees, and the 1200 one is sustainable, he'll say, I want the 200. Okay, whatever to do. So creativity was not something that they were very frankly looking at. Okay. In fact, if you see that pictures also that I showed you of that kurti, it's a very basic kurti. Yeah. It's a very, very basic kurti made of sari. So they were not creative. Had they been creative, they would have probably, started stitching for commercial purposes, which was not my theme over here. So that's why I didn't take up creativity. It depends on the research question. If something is auto-coded like sari and you want to put it in donation manually, how is that done? Okay, so I'll show you that. That's a good question. And I was right. That questioning could bring us back to some more things in Nvivo. Right. Okay. So you want to bring in, suppose in donation, I want to bring in something, right? So right click, okay, and say new code, and within new code, okay, you can, no, wait a second. Okay, new code, so I say made, I say, okay. Okay, so see, within donation, I have made a new code which is made. See, within donation, I have made a new code which is made. Okay. Right? So this is how you make a code within a code. I hope I've answered your question. And yeah, so let me see the chat. What else is there? You had 7,000 tweets as one of the data sources. How did you import that? Great. So I'll show you that also. I'll show you importing the social media also. And for that, I'll have to take you, I'm sharing the screen, so I'll have to take you to the net again. Right, so I'm opening my Facebook. I hope I'm logged in. I think I should be. Yeah, so I'm going to my Facebook, although login in use is not supported. Why? You could do this to Facebook or Instagram or any this thing, but I want to search something. Okay, suppose I want to search sustainable India. Okay, so this is it. Sustainable India, and I say sustainable India. Okay, this is suppose 35,000 posts or something. Okay.
It is not visible whatever you do.
It's opening. It's open. So suppose this is about sustainable India, and these are all the posts which are there in sustainable India, and some amount of written material will also be there. So what I do is there's this end capture, which is something that I have to download. Okay. So if you see on the top, I've just clicked.
Screen is not visible. Whatever you're doing is not visible. Your earlier screen is visible where the model is there.
So just give me a minute.
It's visible here, ma'am. It's visible here.
What is visible? Which screen is visible right now?
The model screen.
The model screen is, and which screen is visible now?
The model. It's not moving here.
Okay. So wait a minute. So which means that I'll have to stop sharing. Share screen. Okay. So now can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an Instagram. Okay. And I have some 35,286 posts on Sustainable India. I want to import them. So I go to End Capture. On the top right side, you see an add-on. Okay, and End Capture is an add-on of Nvivo. You can download it from this very site, so this site that I showed you, okay, you can, showing you from where to. Download and capture. So this is Capture. Okay, it is an add-on of Nvivo, and it works only on Chrome. So when you come to this particular link, you will see it says that download and capture. For me, it will say remove from Chrome because I've already downloaded it. Okay, so once it does get downloaded, you will see it as an icon like this. So this is Capture. Okay, you see this icon, and you will start seeing this icon on any web page that you open on Google Chrome, so right now also you can see it. If I go to my Instagram again, here it is. So any page that you open on Google, a LinkedIn page, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you will be able to see this icon, and this is one icon that can capture data. So what you do is press this icon, just press this icon, and say web page as PDF or article as PDF. Okay, so any one option you can choose. Okay, so suppose it's web page as PDF, and you go to capture. Just go to capture. Okay, and it has started capturing. So it has started capturing social media data from the net. It will convert it into a NVCX file. So when it is getting captured, it will become an NVCX file. Okay, and again, when you go to Capture, it shows just below at the end. It shows show capture progress page. So when you click this, you'll come to a page like this where it shows a status of tick mark, green color tick mark. This means that everything has been captured from there. Okay, and the capture is complete. Now, after doing this, after capturing from social media, you will go to Nvivo. Okay, and in Nvivo, you will go to import, and in import you will not go to files, you will go to Capture. So in import, you will go to the option of Capture. Okay, and of course, whichever capture you have done. So the first one you can see, this is the one which we are, about to import. Okay, sustainable hashtag on Instagram. Why it is showing so many files for me is because for many research papers, especially the sustainability one, I have been capturing from Capture. So it is showing all the captures by default. You just select from the tick, you just select just select the first one, that is from Instagram, and just go to import. Okay, so the moment you go to import, this particular file will get imported into your Nvivo. Okay, it is going to take some time because it's a huge file, and this way you can import it into Nvivo. So I'm just, right now I'm canceling it. It will take a lot of time. I think it is taking time, and it's got the screen stuck. So right now, till the time the file doesn't get imported, which will take some time, I cannot do anything else on Nvivo. So let's take on to other questions. Okay. You had mentioned about many data points like interview, images, social media. How do we go about including these, especially while writing a paper? So, how do we go about writing? So, when you say in data collection, when you say that I have taken 25 PIs, you also say that I took some 20 or 30 pictures. You also say that a part of data was collected from YouTube, which pertained to sustainable consumption among baby boomers. So that is the way you go on writing about the data that you provided. But when it comes to coding, you don't segregate, okay, these codes I got from video, these codes I got from images, these codes, you don't do that. You don't do that. In coding means the total code from whichever input you have got. But this input point, which I'm telling you, where you want to show the, the reviewer that I've used multiple points. This is something you can exaggerate in your data collection. Okay, so let me go to the other questions. Is the conceptual model, do we tell the themes which are new, not repeated in the past research, or only the major themes? Okay, good question, Kathy ma'am. Here we list all the themes. So if you see in my conceptual model also, there was this map. Okay, it's there on the screen right now. So it does have 3 R's. It does have the 3 R's, and the 3 R's was the basic model that we started with. Okay, so it does have 3 R's, but all themes have to be listed, not just the ones which are not repeated. But after making the model, you have to, in the next line, write that these 3 themes are unique and they have not been studied. Okay, so in the model, everything has to be used. Let me go to the next question. 7,000 tweets are how do you import it? That I've shown you. Does the intent of participants count, as most of their people were doing reuse, but the intent was not environment? So exactly, so that is what my research is about, that what was the intent? What was the motivation? What was the value behind it? So in my research, somehow I found out environment didn't come in baby boomers at all. Rather, when I did a comparative study of the Generation Z, it was the Generation Z who said, don't use plastics, save the environment, save it for future, don't waste fuels, all these big things which are taught in schools primarily. That is what the Generation Z, but my people did not, the baby boomers didn't come out with a theme called environment, so I've not put it. Can you please provide us with the video recording? Okay, this is with the organizations. Atlas I has a trial version forever with restrictions to take only 10 documents, 20 codes, and 50 statements. But sir, does it give you, even QDA minor, by the way? So QDA minor you can download forever, trial version forever. But the only thing you can do over there is coding. Okay, the only thing that you can do is coding. And if it's only with 10 documents, then how do I complete my research with 35? Number one. Number two, once I've done the coding, okay, once I've, finished with the coding, and the statements, etc. The next thing is that I have to make word clouds, I have to make mind maps, I have to do auto coding, sentiment analysis, social media analysis. All that will not be available in the free version. So that is why I said it has to be. And you, etc. too expensive beyond the trial. What are the best free alternatives? The free alternative is our software. Is there any substitute software freely available? Our software. If something is coded, sorry, okay, this is there. Man can creativity. Okay, I've covered this all participants. Okay, so there are 3 new messages. Let me look at that. Okay, so that's just seems to be thank you. Whether we are okay, and I think when the screen was not getting shared, okay, there was one query which I thought I had answered, but probably the screen was not getting shared, which is that how do you make a sub theme within a theme? So under an emotion, if I want to make a theme, what do I do? So I right click on emotion, I go to new code, and in the new code I say family emotion, suppose. Okay, I'm just telling you how to do a coding within a code. And now within emotion you can see family emotion. Okay, if you press a minus you will see only emotion, and if you press a plus you will see the sub theme below emotion. Right? Yes. Any other questions?
Ma'am, I think there was one more question. Just a second. Do we need to code everything?
Do we need to code everything? Yes. Single line, every line of the transcript has to be coded. Yes, everything has to be coded.
You're suggesting line by line coding.
Line by line coding or open coding, because the logical sense that we can make to the transcript, the software cannot make. Okay, also they say, how did you select samples? Okay, how did I select samples? So I selected people, not very rich class. Okay, so there was a class I did it, and this class of people were the middle class, the upper middle class people, okay, and some of them were the richer class also. So primarily what I did is I did a convenience sampling, okay, because it was COVID time last year. So not many people were ready to even, sit with me for 30 minutes. And with old people, it was that there were problems of being on the phone with an old person or a man for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So it was convenience-based sampling. Whatever I could get, whoever entertained me in September last year, I just went to their house. So it was convenience sampling and random sampling. Okay, I do a lot of 10 documents, everything is there. More than that, we can create an automated network of codes like mind map. The word cloud and are also possible. So, sir, is this for a free version of Atlas? I mean, is it a trial version of Atlas I? All this can be done. Are you sure? In a trial version of Atlas I, which is generally available for say 15 to 30 days, you can do all this. But if that is the case, why would somebody buy Atlas I in the first place? No, when did you download this? You can do all this in Nvivo also in those 15 days of trial version. So when did you download this version? That is my question. Okay, because if all this is available in a trial version, who's going to buy Atlas I? There has to be something which is available in Atlas I in the paid version. Okay, ma'am, while you were working on the rationale of the study, what were the strategies selected by you? How to make the research question more specific and narrow? And what publication were you looking at? Okay, that's too many questions. Okay, one by one. For a rationale of the study, so I just started with, this was more of an emotional rationale, but I did check, as I said, that there should be no other study done on this. So when I studied the whole universe, I found only 3 studies. One was by Dr. Vyas, one was by Norris, and one was by Pandey. Now, the study of Dr. Vyas is not a published paper, it's just a conference proceeding. So it was a less dangerous paper. Although he has worked more on only value of money in middle class. He hasn't worked on other motivations, okay? This was the flaw in his paper, which became a positive point of my paper, or the gap that I covered. The second paper was by Norris. Norris had worked with women in India and how they disposed of their garments. So she only and only worked on disposing of domestic garments. More so, after the disposal of the garment, she went to the Bartanwalis and then from Bartanwalis further to the supply chain. So she didn't stop at domestics. And even in domestic, she has only written about how a lady disposes of garments and nothing else. Okay, so that was a gap in her study, which I picked up. In Pandey's paper, he has done a categorization of all sorts of waste. Okay, so what all has he not included? I think that was the best paper that I saw, Bajrang and Pandey sir's paper, all. But there he went into the categorization of waste. So he collected that domestic waste and he said, these are the categories in which people divide it in. Okay. Again, he did not talk about the motivation, the Indian ethos, the values, the morals limited to this thing. Okay. Yeah, so when you started using it on 7th, there is a 30 days limit now. That's why you're being allowed all those functions. So if you downloaded it on 7th of September till 7th of October, you'll be allowed all this. You'll be allowed all this, all mind map, word cloud, everything. So even in an Nvivo, when we take a trial of 15 days, all functions are allowed in Nvivo in those 15 days. But the moment you reach 7th October, these functions will not work on Atlas I. So that's what I said. It's the trial version period where they are working, not that forever. If these software start giving in the trial version, it will become very difficult. Okay. The second question that ma'am has said is that how to make research question more specific and narrowed down. So because these people had done rest of the things, I had nothing left but the motivation and value system of Indian domestic consumers or Indian domestic population, something that others had not. And what are the publications you are looking at in a qualitative research of this publication? Because it's on sustainability theme, I published, I have given it and it's under review in Society and Business Review Journal. Okay, there are also in the ABDC list, there's also journals called qualitative market research. So there's a Taylor and Francis journal, which is only and only about qualitative market research. Okay, so it does not publish any other paper except for qualitative research. So if you get such specific journals, there's one in, I think, Emerald, one in Taylor and Francis. If you get such journals, it gives you a better scope, okay, to publish, because the papers that come over there are less competitive, they are only qualitative, right? So it's better. In a journal where there are qualitative and quantitative papers, then the quantitative form a very big competition because they are validated papers through figures, and our papers, like I said, are very subjective. Does the publishing probability increase if we study a niche community? Yes, I mean, it does. It does. So there are people working on, in fashion, I know there are people now working on consumer behavior or psychology of transgenders, the LGBTQ community. And you know, it's a very, very niche area. There, I mean, I've checked it myself. There aren't papers in that. Somehow, even the people who are working on sustainability, who are working on fashion, are working with artisans. तो आजकल ना sustainability में artisans की बड़ी चर्चा है. Artisan को कैसे बचाओ, खादी वाले को कैसे बचाओ, वो लखनवी चिकनकारी का जो काम कर रहा है उसको कैसे बचाओ. Till date in fashion, जो LGBTQ community है, whose consumer behavior, whose psychology, whose stress levels are very different from a non-LGBTQ person. Very less reports on it. I don't know, in psychology also there should be some research, but if you check, if you psychologists also check out, very, very niche area, very, very niche community. People are not studying it. People feel they are not sizable enough to study. But as a researcher, the fact that this one particular population is not sizable, it should not stop you from doing research. Please do take up such areas.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, yes.
That you chose your method to be thematic analysis?
Yes, yes.
As
Content
a researcher,
analysis and thematic analysis.
so if a researcher chooses a different method of qualitative analysis, like a narrative analysis or a grounded theory, so would the procedure remain same in Nvivo or it is different?
It will remain same, ma'am. See, even in a grounded theory approach, see, these are, when it comes to, these are basically, you know, qualitative research philosophies, ethnography, grounded theory, these are philosophies. In Nvivo, what we are dealing with is data. So whether your philosophy is grounded theory or whether it is, you know, ethnography or whether it is projective techniques, the data that comes to you comes through interviews. So even in grounded theory, you do an interview. Even in grounded theory, you have diaries. Even in grounded theory, you have audios, observation, pictures. So data forms in all these philosophies remain same. So even if you're working on a different philosophy of qualitative research, ethnography or something, data points are same, so you can do the same with Nvivo and make a theory. The only difference in grounded theory, although, will be that you don't take this 3R as a base. So grounded theory means you're making your own theory. So you don't take anything as a base. That will be a difference. And this part of differentiation of whether you've taken a grounded theory or a projective technique or this comes in section number 3, research methodology. You differentiate it there and then say my data collection points are same, PIs and diaries and all this. Right? Yes, I don't see any more questions. Any more questions?
Theme are last because in grounded theory there is something called category also. So do Nvivo differentiate between code, category or themes, or it is just code and themes?
No, we do have a classification in Nvivo. Okay. So in Nvivo, there is a classification which we can do on the basis of, you know, like we can divide the data into males and females. In my case, I divided these transcripts into generation Z and generation baby boomers, and then there were cross comparisons. Those classifications can be done. In fact, I'll just give you my, because in 2 hours it's a little difficult. I'm just giving you my mail ID for future. and I'm giving you my YouTube channel. So, you know, what I do is I put all my FTPs wherever the institution allows on YouTube. So there are 5 days FTPs which I've done on Nvivo, and they are there on YouTube where I have explained this classification thing. Okay. So I'll just